Oh, all right. Okay guys, welcome to Cosplay and Coffee. I'm not in cosplay, but I do have coffee. And today I'm going to be reviewing products from Tnt Cosplay Supply. So for those of you who don't know, Tnt Cosplay Supply sells cosplay supplies that are kind of the bread and butter for cosplayers, especially if you're a prop maker or you make a lot of armor, because they sell EVA foam and tools and clay and all of these other things that are great if you're into armor making and stuff. Which, if you guys saw my 2019 cosplans video, then you know that this year I plan on really diving into armor making for the first time. So I started researching what kind of EVA foam I wanted to use for my Iron Man build and the rest of my builds hopefully this year. I wanted to see what foam a lot of cosplayers use that's affordable, that I can get relatively quickly if I need to, and just what works overall. I have a little bit of experience working with foam. I made my first cosplay out of Kids Craft foam for my Thor cosplay, and then I used 10mm EVA foam for my Harley Quinn hammer. I already knew based off of research that I wanted to use 6mm foam for my Iron Man suit, so I started looking into where I could get that. And I saw Tnt Cosplay Supply come up a lot and tagged a lot on Instagram, so I decided to give them a try. So what's really cool about Tnt Cosplay Supply is that they offer samples for every size foam that they carry. And so before I actually started diving in and working on my Iron Man suit, I thought I would test the sample pieces that they gave me to see how well it holds up. So if you guys also follow me on Instagram, you already saw that originally I had bought 6mm craft foam from Amazon, and then I decided to get the Tnt Cosplay Supply foam, and this was the difference. The difference is crazy. Anyway, so we're gonna test these Tnt Cosplay Supply foam samples by cutting them, sanding them, detailing them, painting them, and gluing them. I don't know how many that was, 5. And see how it holds up to different kinds of methods that you would typically use to make armor or just to work with foam in general. I hope that makes sense. Let's just jump into it, okay? All right, so this is the little sheet that they send you with the prices and everything for their EVA foam. It's priced per sheet. So first we have the 2mm craft foam. That is $7.95 per sheet, which is about the same price you would find rolls at Michael's. You have the 4mm foam. That is $9.95 per sheet. We have the 6mm craft foam, which is $11.95 per sheet. I think this is what I got for mine, and I believe I got mine on sale for like $10 per sheet or something. Then we have the 8mm craft foam, that is $13.95 per sheet. And we have the 10mm craft foam, that is $15.95 per sheet. So I can already tell you, this is what I used for my Thor cosplay, that size, and this is the stuff I used to make my EVA foam, the 10mm. So of course I went from the smallest to the biggest you can possibly get. And for my Harley Quinn hammer, I actually used the floor mat stuff that you can get at like Harbor Freight, and I can already tell you that this stuff is so much more dense than this, and it doesn't seem to have as much like pores as this one does. But also the key difference in all of these is that Tnt Cosplay Supply's foam is smooth on both sides, which is really unique because typically your EVA foam will have these ridges. which these ridges are typically good to hold your foam together because it gives it a little bit more strength, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see how this glue holds up. So this is the 2mm. I normally cut my EVA foam with a box cutter. So I'm just gonna cut it right down the middle. Ooh, easy, and I'm gonna cut it down the middle. Okay, so it didn't go through all the way, but maybe I just didn't apply enough pressure. Okay, I kind of like that it didn't cut so easily because it makes it seem like it's pretty strong for 4mm craft foam. All right, now we have the 6mm, which is typically the size cosplayers use to make armor. So, box cutter. Press down harder this time. Again, didn't cut all the way through. Look how clean though. Ooh, I like it. Okay. Can you rip it? Bad idea. Let's not do that. Okay. Pretty clean cut. Another thing that I've noticed with other EVA foams, especially the thicker stuff, is that, and this is using the same box cutter, a brand new one, it just leaves just not a clean cut. All right, this is the 8mm foam. Again, pretty clean cut, pretty sweet. I'm gonna have to go use a lot more force with that one. I like it. All right, 10mm. Let's see if it's a clean cut. I'm using all of my strength here, I swear to God. Okay, so this also, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully you can, you can see a little bit more. It's not as clean, but compared to, but you can see it's a lot cleaner. So that's cool. All right, what's next? We are going to sand it. All right, let me get my sander. I'm just gonna use a regular sander. I have other tools that I could use, but this is gonna be the easiest, so. All right, so that has a little extra piece. Let's see if we can sand it. Not really. Maybe my sander just sucks. All right, too thin. On to the next. This is the 6mm, which I actually will need to use. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the most experience with sanding stuff. I don't think this is the greatest sandpaper thing. And this, I think this typically happens when you sand stuff anyway, but it is leaving like little fuzzies on the side. It's not making it super clean, which is disheartening. Also, you can get all of these foams in either black or white. So far it seems like white is getting dirty really easily. And that's the color I bought, perfect. All right, let's try the 8mm. Oh, that's cleaner. Let's see if we can get rid of these like ridges in the 10mm. Okay, got rid of it a little bit. I hope to God you guys can see this. All right, so for the most part, I would say it's pretty good, pretty clean. Let's try to sand away it with the Harbor Freight craft foam. Okay, see what I mean? It made it worse. And there's so much residue. Look at that. I didn't get any of that from this one, from the Tnt Cosplay supply. And this one, you have to sand a lot more and a lot harder to make it smooth. You get a little bit of like residue, but not like the other one. That's crazy. All right, what's next? Details and scoring. So there's a couple ways you could do detailing for foam. A lot of people will take one of these suckers, which is a, you know, X-Acto knife, that's what it's called. And you can just do light details and then use a heat gun to expand the detail, or you can use a soldering iron. So we have our 2mm, our 6mm, our 8mm, and our 10mm. Let's do some scoring first. I'm gonna apply the same amount of pressure to each foam piece. We're going to take our handy dandy heat gun and see how well it expands on the details. So with the 2mm craft foam, the line that I had originally made kind of closed up when I applied heat to it, which was weird. The 4mm craft foam took to it pretty well. You'd probably have to apply a bit more pressure to see it. The 6mm craft foam kind of didn't do a lot. The 8mm, you can see a lot more after applying heat. And then this one, you can see the best. But because those are so thick, you can actually apply more pressure and make the details even better. So overall, like in terms of weathering and adding details, it seems like compared to other EVA foam I've used, you have to apply a bit more pressure. Probably because it's just so thick and well made that it takes a little bit more effort to add those details. Okay, all right. Now we're gonna test out the soldering iron. Oh shit, where's the top? Oh. Well, apparently my soldering iron is broken. Cool. So we're not gonna use that. We're gonna glue now. Use glue. The first thing we're going to use is super glue. I really like to use super glue when hot glue is just not cutting it. So let's see. This was the hot glue. Holding pretty good with the 2mm. Don't think that's gonna come up anytime soon. 2mm, same thing. Doing pretty good. 6mm. Makes me a little bit nervous. But for the most part, hot glue seems to, not hot glue, super glue seems to work. Oh, all right. 8mm, super glue doesn't work too well. And I'm gonna assume the same. Oh, maybe I just didn't add enough glue for that one, because the 10mm is really taken to it. I wonder if I scored it a little bit with those details. Sorry, my camera died, so if it looks like a different day, it's because it is. So I used this glue to test out all of these, and they pretty much all hold up. So you can use specifically Gorilla Super Glue on any size of these EVA foam pieces. The 8 and the 10mm, I would be a little cautious about. I don't know how well it'll hold. The thing about EVA foam that doesn't have these ridges on the back is that it doesn't hold very well. So scoring in details like you saw me do with this piece will help the glue hold better, if that makes sense. So I think it did help with this piece plus adding more glue, but anyway, moving on. And now we're gonna test out how hot glue works. Now, while I'm waiting for those to dry a little bit, I'm going to start with our next glue, which is contact cement. With contact cement, you have to wait for it to get tacky before you can glue the pieces together. So that's why we're gonna get started on that now. All right, I think, oh, just kidding, not tacky yet. I'm very impatient. I've had half a cup of coffee. But while we wait on that, I guess, we can check out how the hot glue held up. So this is the 2mm. Holding up pretty good. This is the 4mm, and it's kind of ripping apart already. Weird. 6mm. See, now this is working. Maybe I just didn't put enough glue on the edges. Well, if you look at that, it's starting to come on down a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know if I really trust hot glue on that. This is the 8mm and the 10mm. Huh. I don't know, maybe I just didn't put as much glue on the other pieces, but it seems like hot glue works better on the bigger pieces. Interesting. But honestly, hot glue isn't my favorite type of adhesive. It's probably the last one that I would use. I know most cosplayers use it almost exclusively, but I really prefer super glue and contact cement, so. But now you know. Okay, I've been waiting forever, so we're just gonna go for it. I have no patience. Finally dried. So, contact cement with 2mm. Oh, Lordy Jesus. Doing pretty good. 4mm. I don't know if I just had too much glue on there. Holding up really well with the 6mm. So weird. Wow, even better with the 8mm. And also doing great with the 10mm. Okay, now with the paint, let me just explain a little bit. So, these bottom pieces here are all primed. I just use simple spray paint Mod Podge to do that. So these are primed, these are not primed, the smaller pieces. The top half I spray painted, and then the bottom half on all of these is acrylic paint. So let's start with the primed pieces. The spray paint holds really well. You can still see some wrinkles if you like move it around a bit on all of the foams, but generally it holds really well with spray paint. Ooh, I love it. And it's not cracking. It's just that you can see the wrinkles. So with the acrylic paint, you can see the brush strokes, but granted I was using kind of a shitty brush, but it still works pretty well. You just have to, I think I put 2 layers on all of the red parts for each piece, but it's not cracking, and you actually can't see wrinkles if you bend the fat or the foam with acrylic paint. And you need significantly less paint when it comes to acrylic paint if you get the white. Like, look at the difference. I use the exact same amount of paint for these. So just something to keep in mind. I think either way, acrylic paint or spray paint is going to hold up pretty well on this foam, especially if you prime it. So moving on to the non-primed foam. Again, I use about 2 layers of acrylic paint on the bottom, the red pieces, and then the same exact spray paint on the top. So this, you can just tell that the paint soaked in more into the foam, but it's just not as opaque. This one just looks darker and like the paint held better, obviously because it's primed. But in general, it's not cracking, bubbling, anything, even if you don't prime it. But again, the white foam holds the acrylic paint better, and you have to use less paint than the black EVA foam. But those are all my little tests. There's so many different ways you can use EVA foam, and in general, Tnt Cosplay Supply holds up. I'm super excited to start working with this foam, and I'm glad I have a better idea now of how it handles paint and all the other things. Hopefully by the time you're seeing this, I have already completed or mostly completed my Iron Man cosplay. So yeah. So if you want to see it, follow me on social media. If you want to help me make even more of these armored cosplays, you can support me on Patreon. You can check out my website to see how I do it. I'm hopefully going to have ebooks on how to do this. Wrong. I am going to have ebooks on how to do this. So I'm going to link down every little thing you can possibly ever want to know down in the description. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time. Cosplays. 4mm. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, wait. And that's it.